Your Excellencies, leaders of our great party, ladies and gentlemen, especially gentlemen of the press, at this World Press Conference, let me, on behalf of the leadership of our great party, congratulate you yet for another year and day of World Press Day and freedom. Of a truth, without the press, it would be difficult for people to know exactly what is going on in the world and what is going on currently in our country. So on behalf of our party, we congratulate you for World Press Day today. This is an address by the National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondus, at the National Secretariat Abuja on May the 3rd, 2021, on this World Press Conference, as we are gathered here. And as you can see, the leaders of our party, both the former Senate President, leaders of the National Assembly, leaders of BOT, great men of our party, National Working Committee, we are still expecting some governors to come, and you know the situation which we are in now, that is crisis all over our country and the states. Not too easy to travel. Nigeria must not fail. Following series of meetings in the last 1 week by various organs of our great party, the People's Democratic Party, the National Working Committee, the National Caucus, the BOT, the Board of Trustees, and the National Executive Committee, the PDP as a political party has come to the conclusion that the ship of state is adrift and requires help. We have therefore called this World Press Conference to brief you and share with you the outcome of our deliberations, the state of our nation. As the wise saying goes, the goat does not suffer patrician in titles while the elders are at home. Thus, the leadership of the PDP come to you today with a very heavy heart regarding the state of our union. It is very clear that Nigeria is on the precipice with arms-bearing non-state actors mincingly overrunning our state and its institutions and daily eroding our sovereignty. These perilous situations have manifested through terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, arson, and inexplicable murderous rampage across our nation. Government's monopoly over legitimate cohesive power has been compromised and torpedoed, with criminal gangs let loose across our nation. It is unimaginable that terrorists who had been pushed out to the fringes by the President Goodluck Jonathan administration, leading to the successful elections of 2015, have since boldly reasserted themselves and are now taking territories in 5 local governments of Niger State, which is only 2 hours from Abuja. It is also important to note that the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, who by his position is armed with credible intelligence, raised the alarm that terrorists and bandits were making inroads into the towns in Kaduna State. Also noteworthy is the alarm raised by the governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Ablai Sule, that the Boko Haram were occupying territories in his state. A strategic and intelligent interpretation of this is that Nigerian Federal Capital Territory, FCT, is surrendered presently. The nation has witnessed an upsurge of kidnapping in the FCT, further giving vent to the assertions of the governors. In addition to this, the escalation of killings, arson, bloodlettings, kidnappings of Nigerians, including our men and women in uniforms across the nation. Between January and now, this may surprise you, no fewer than 741 and even more Nigerians have been murdered by bandits and terrorists. Dozens of police formations and security checkpoints have been attacked, leaving scars, dead. An attack on a correctional facility in Owerri, Imo State, recently led to release of 1,844 inmates. Furthermore, from the kidnap of 110 Dapcha school girls to the kidnap of 344 students from Government Science School, Kankara, Katsina State, kidnap of 42 travelers between Kantagora and Mina, Niger State, abduction of another 27 students in Niger State, kidnap of about 300 students of Government Girls Secondary School, Jangabe in Zamfara State, abduction in March this year of about 30 students of Federal Government College, Forestry and Mechanization, Africa, Kaduna, who are still being held in captivity, and the abduction of students of the Greenfield University, who were intermittently slain without any response from government. Nigeria has become an expensive field of mass kidnapping, murder under the watch of the APC-led government. The economy. This government has been completely rudderless regarding the economy. We remember that prior to the emergence of this administration, Nigeria's debt profile stood at less than 9.4 billion US dollars. That is 1.8 trillion naira. Having benefited from the efforts of a previous PDP administration led by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo for a debt relief over 18 billion. Presently, Nigeria's debt burden has since risen to 32.9 trillion naira. It is curious that the only economic management tool known by this government is just mind-boggling borrowing. This includes borrowing for recurrent expenditure as well as for consumption. The incompetence and absence of a clear policy for the economy is fast leading us into the woods of insolvency, which was recently confirmed by NNPC's confession that it would not be able to make remittances to FAC for the month of April, even the following 3 months, as well as the confusing response of government regarding the appropriate use of ways and means, printing money to address our mounting economic challenges. It is also clear that despite the wormhole closure and reopening of borders, the supposed consumption of the premium motor spirit, PMS, alone has increased from about 30 million litres in 2015 to over 60 million litres, even when the production capacity of the economy has seriously diminished. Many companies and businesses have dumped Nigeria for neighboring countries because of apparent inclement operational environment. Therefore, your gaze is as good as ours to whether the subsidy is for us, we the people, the citizens, or for the pocket of privileged few in this APC government. Further sources of worry is the exchange rate that was at 180 naira to a dollar in 2014, now stand at nearly, as we speak, 500 naira to a dollar, contrary to the APC propaganda-laden promise of matching a dollar to 1 naira. This was the promise they made in 2015. Inflation has been on the rise. According to National Bureau of Statistics, the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, stood at 18.17% year on year. In March 2021, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, with the youths mainly affected. And while one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to end extreme poverty by 2050, APC has continued to lead the nation in the opposite direction, with over 89.9 million citizens living in extreme and abject poverty. Nigeria overtook India as the poverty of the world in 2018, according to the Washington-based Brookings Institution. Nigeria's corruption rating has been consistently worst under APC-led administration. The youths are unemployed all over the country. These and more clearly shows that the APC-led government has left the economy more than 100% worse than they met it. Mismanagement of the nation's diversity and the refusal to engage in its formation, character, and modus operandi, and belief in the eternal destiny of this country to succeed. The PDP, while not claiming perfection, has always taken deliberate steps to engage Nigerians and take constructive approach to nation building. In this vein, the PDP in June 12, 2014, organized an all-party conference aimed at depoliticization of the war against insurgency. It's on record, which the then incumbent president and commander-in-chief, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, as well as General Muhammadu Buhari, as he then was, attended. In January 14, 2015, a peace accord was encouraged and endorsed by all political parties, which led to a successful 2015 election. The PDP also initiated a standing National Peace Committee, which is still in existence, headed by the former head of state. And of course, the PDP initiated and successfully hosted the 2014 National Conference to de-escalate tensions and chart trajectory for the social, economic, and political stability and prosperity for our nation. Having done all this, we are worried that the APC government, in its character, formation, and modus operandi, has successfully mismanaged our diversity. It is clear that the core philosophy of the APC is to run a government of exclusion. Everyone can see it. They do not constructively engage Nigerians except for erratic statements by Malam Garba Shehu, which further fans the ambience of disaffection. It shares arrogance coupled with an aloof president is a disaster waiting to happen. God forbid. Increasingly, Mr. President is absent from duty to the knowledge of everyone. The symbol of authority of the executive is simply not there, leading various centers of power in the executive, which affect the economy, security, manifest in lack of coordination and synergy in government operation. The apparent nepotism in the appointment of the top echelon of the security forces and the commanding heights of the institution of government further fueled agitations across the country. In fact, winning election has been reduced by the APC to more of sharing the spoil of war than running a government to the benefit of all citizens. This could be the only discernible reason for the president to appoint and still retains as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has access to the sensitive data of Nigeria, a self-confessed bigot who had voluntarily expressed happiness at the killings of all people of other faiths. It is curious that such an individual like Issa Pantami scaled through the vetting by the Department of State Security, DSS, and ahead of confirmation by the Senate. Granted that he may have changed his views, is it possible that millions of youth radicalized by his preaching have also repented from extreme views of concomitant violent conducts? The PDP holds that our present circumstance is attributable to Dr. Issa Pantami and people who share and preach his views. The very steps is for Pantami to be immediately relieved of his office and handed over for investigation. If found wanting, he should be prosecuted. The way forward. Dear compatriots, we come to you today to reassert our confidence in the future of our union, cognizance of the spirit and letters of our Constitution, and believing that we are all better together, that we are one nation under God, determined to build a formidable nation state. We have not come to play politics. This is not politics. These are bare facts that everybody can cross-check. But to work in concert with our compatriots to rescue our nation from these avoidable, perilous circumstances. Combating insecurity. We therefore demand, number one, for the immediate upscaling of the personnel strength of our men and women in uniform and make adequate provision of kinetic instrument of war and law enforcement. Our armed forces should be adequately equipped and their welfare a top priority to this government. In addition, efforts should be made towards partnership with foreign governments and miscellaneous entities for the war efforts. The situation in our country is not normal. An exceptional step should be taken to restore it to normalcy. The PDP as a body is willing to give a helping hand in this direction. Call number 2, call for the establishment of a state police. We call on all citizens to support the quest for state police, as in the tradition in other federations. Mindful of the current plethora of vigilante in various parts of the country, which have not been enabled to carry out all the elements of effective policing, we call on the governors of the 36 states, the leadership and members of National Assembly, the speakers of the state assemblies, relevant agencies of government, to occasion a summit for one-stop shop regarding the creation, structure, and management of state police. In spite of the concern over state police, it is doubtful that the 32 state police services can be easily overwhelmed, as in the case now with the unitary police since 1960. Besides, any challenges can be addressed through legislative framework to make abuse extremely very difficult, if not impossible. Number 3, we call for the deployment of technology in the fight against terror, banditry, and other crimes. The PDP demands that all culprits should be brought to book. The apparent failure of intelligence to track attacks by bandits and follow up on them is a clear failure of the intelligence community. The Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, NICOMSAT, was established many years ago by PDP administration. It's designed for this purpose and others. Number 4, states where matters of national security challenges originate or exist should be invited to the National Security Council meeting for deliberation and problem-solving interactions. Number 5, we call for the creation of national borders protection. And this is also very important. To secure our borders, this will include an integrated borders protection system that will draw personnel and equipment from existing armed service and immigration. We cannot continue to watch while terrorists and bandits continue to levy war on our nation. Through our porous borders, this borders force should be equipped with renaissance, intelligence gathering, prevention, and enforcement. It should be therefore have air, sea, and land capability. There must be a synergy and cooperation among the armed forces, strategically and operationally. There is no reason a theater commander should not have within his control the deployment of the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy in its operational areas. Number 7, all culprits who have levied war on Nigeria should be brought to book with immediate effect. It is unfathomable that various mass kidnappings have been successfully staged with the culprits not being held to account. It is a shameful irony that a few bandits leaders that have been taken out were killed by rival gangs and not our security services or agencies. If Sheikh Gumi could detect and engage the bandits, we do not understand why our security agencies cannot track and arrest and prosecute them. Number 8, the administration of President Buhari should completely shed weight on ignorance, arrogance, lack of respect for Nigeria and its pretenses of being an island of integrity. It should begin to engage the citizens directly. Very important. It should address the nation on the various issues escalating tension in the land and pushing the nation further to the tips of precipice. It is serious political malpractice for Mr. President to stand aloof, saying nothing, doing nothing, and simply wish that the problem will somehow go away. It is impossible. It will not go away unless he addressed the issues. It is a great disservice to the Nigerian people for Mr. President to abandon his presidential duties to 2 media handlers who resort to issuing meaningless and annoying press statements in the name of a amorphous and questionable organization called the presidency. There is nothing like the presidency. Nigerians voted for Mr. President, and they only know Mr. President. They should speak out now. Enough of trivializing governance and trifling with the lives, livelihoods, and well-being of Nigerian people. Enough is enough. Furthermore, Mr. President needs to convince Nigerians that his government is not shielding or protecting terrorists. He needs to speak out. Rescuing the economy. We hold that our government should stop borrowing. Our future generations are being mortgaged and reloaded into avoidable debt trap. APC should do away with their nepotism and hire experts that will creatively navigate the nation through their economic challenges they have led the nation into. We also, number 2, believe that the management of the economy, including the management of ways and means, should be done in more professional manner to avoid a collapse of the economy. The country is bleeding economically, and the operations of the NNPC must be investigated and oversighted by our parliament. The tipsy TV situation where Mr. President, who is the Minister of Petroleum, approves oil wells only to reverse himself in a matter of weeks has demonstrated, in this case, of others. OML 123, 124, 126, and 37, and others like. That should be investigated. Turning the page on diversity management. The tension and current separatist agitation threatening the corporate existence of Nigeria owe their origin to the performative management of diversity by the APC-led federal government. As every action of this administration goes to confirm the fears of the victims and legitimizes the agitation of the separatist groups. Worse still, of engaging Nigerians, this administration resort to harassment, intimidation, of voices of dissent. They clamp down on democratic expressions against exclusion, as well as political opposition, weaponizing critical institutions like the Armed Forces, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, and even regulatory agencies like the National Broadcasting Commission, etc., etc. Even an appearance on national television or radio could warrant a clampdown by the NBC or invitation by the EFCC or ICPC. We fear that this, if not checked, could soon graduate to assassination of political opponents and voices of dissent. All calls and entreaties on the federal government to accommodate the Southeast in the headship of the nation's armed forces and security agencies have fallen on deaf ears to the chagrin of nation building. Therefore, we call on the APC-led government to live up to the spirit and letters of our Constitution to ensure that all sections of the country are equitably represented in all agencies and organs of government, including the armed forces. This will build loyalty and enhance security both in strategic and real terms. It will give every part of the country a sense of belonging and will be very helpful in intelligence gathering. As known world over, no victim of injustice is ever interested in peace. In this wise, we strongly subscribe to an all-stakeholder security and solutions summit, which we earlier suggested, that will de-escalate the current situation. This will now further collaborate the efforts of the leaders of National Assembly, the state governors, speakers of assemblies and relevant government agencies, and other stakeholders in putting together a one-stop summit to find solution to the menacing security situation in our country. Devolution of powers. We call for the devolution of more powers to the states and local governments. It's overdue. From our experience, since the first military regime in 1966, the federal government has increasingly beaten more than it can chew, and the nation is crumbling under the weight of behemoth federal government. Items like railway, aviation power, police, among others, should immediately devolve to trigger productivity and create leadership that will enable the constituent part to develop. Such new responsibilities should also come with consequential increment in the resources available to the states. Electoral Act. It is worrisome that the report of the National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC, which finished its work since February 2021, is yet to be laid in the two chambers of the National Assembly. We are aware that the work of the committee, which also benefited from the Joint Technical Committee on the repeal and reenactment of the Electoral Act, comprising select members of the National Assembly, INEC, the civil society, and other experts, made far-reaching recommendations that will benefit our electoral system and democracy. This includes early primaries, such that if approved by the National Assembly and signed by Mr. President, INEC is expected to call for nomination in February 2022, while political parties will have until July 2022 to conduct primaries and submit a list of their candidates. Importantly, we understand that the report comprises proposal for extensive use of technology in our elections, including electronic transmission of results, which is the key to free and fair and transparent election. These are critical moves at repositioning our election by allowing INEC enough time to prepare for elections and reduce the logistical challenges, allow political parties enough time to conduct primaries and handle the contestations and reduce election malpractices that occur during result collusion. We are therefore alarmed at the decision of the APC-led leadership of the National Assembly to sit on such an important report, contrary to their promise to pass the Electoral Act by March, which has now been shifted to June. It is imperative to state that INEC and government of the United Kingdom have equally raised concern over these undue delays. As it appears, this current amendment is going the way the Electoral Act amendment in the 8th National Assembly that was ultimately not signed by Mr. President. We don't pray for that. We therefore invite all well-meaning Nigerians, the international community, the CSOs, and stakeholders to apply pressure on the leadership of the National Assembly, Mr. President Buhari, and the APC to immediately have the report laid, considered and passed, and signed by Mr. President. In conclusion, gentlemen of the press, with the tension in our land, it is very clear to us that leadership is made of thinner stuff, not propaganda. From every indication, from the actions and body language of the APC-led administration, it is very clear that there is a mission to deconstruct our country, Nigeria. All men and women of goodwill must not allow this to happen. God forbid. We are supremely confident in the words of John Maxwell that some people, in this case the APC and this administration, could stop the nation and set us back temporarily. But we, the citizens, are the only ones that can stop ourselves permanently. We therefore believe in the manifest destiny of this nation to succeed, because we are one nation under God. But all hands must be on deck. Let us come together and pull the nation from the brink. It is time for all Nigerians to stand up and be counted as we commence the journey to rescue our nation from the current misrule by the APC. The commitment of the PDP to Nigeria people is to lead a charge towards the restoration of normalcy to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. PDP will be engaging the international community and friends of Nigeria regarding the volatile situation in Nigeria. We hope they will lend their voices henceforth, knowing the implication of an expulsion of Nigeria, God forbid, for the rest of the world. But on the whole, the penchant to emasculate, muzzle, and intimidate opposition figures will not deter us from this noble cause. And before I will end my address, finally, gentlemen of the press, at the end of this briefing, I leave you with this quote of 16th century scholar on the failing empire of Songhai, which is apt to our situation today. And I quote, "At this moment, everything changed Danger took the place of security. Peace gave way to distress, disaster, and violence. Everywhere, men destroy each other, and disorder rose to the highest degree of intensity. And unquote. I pray that God will help Nigeria. We believe in united Nigeria. We believe that PDP laid the foundation for this democracy, and we are ready to sustain it. Thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you, and God bless.
PDP! Power to the people!